My research paper was a business history about Aero Queen, a small ice cream shop located in the small rural city of New Carlisle, Ohio. Aero Queen has been in operation for 53 years, opened by Maurice Bud Young and his wife Margaret in March of 1970. It changed ownership several times after Bud sold it in 1989 until Jason Rhodes purchased the business in 2002. Aside from some changes in ownership and menu upgrades, there have been few other changes. The name, the building facade, and the sign out front have remained the same since 1970, and the establishment has become a staple in the New Carlisle community. My research aimed to discover the importance of this business with its involvement in the community, hiring local teenagers, and how the business has continued to thrive when so many small businesses, especially in small communities, have closed their doors. In the United States, most Americans are employed by small businesses, and in rural communities, small businesses primarily support the local economy. Understanding the history of small businesses and their social and economic impact is important to better understanding American economic history as a whole. My research was a qualitative study, primarily through gathering data on social media, through newspaper sources, local newspaper sources, and through 5 interviews. My preference would have been to rely mostly on interviews and to have more than that, but despite initial interest, only 5 actually panned out. The most fruitful interviews were with Nancy Burnett Eden, who worked at Aero Queen prior to her parents' ownership, and with the current owners, Donna and Jason Rhodes. I had hoped to interview Bud and Margaret's daughter, Sharon, but was unable to secure that interview, unfortunately. There is very little in the newspaper coverage for the business specifically, but I was able to locate some articles from when the business opened and the 50th anniversary celebration, as well as other community interest articles. The rest I kind of just pieced together through the social media sites that belong to Aero Queen and the local community site called You Know You're from New Carlisle. Additionally, I used data from the Census Bureau and the Bureau of Labor Statistics to kind of paint a picture of teenage employment, because that provided a lot of information, especially as regards kind of the demographics of New Carlisle and how Aero Queen has impacted teenage employment in the small city. It was far easier locating secondary sources regarding small businesses, although not ice cream businesses in particular. Much of the information I learned through interviews about community engagement, importance of small businesses in small communities, the impact of the COVID pandemic, and teenage employment was actually validated by the secondary research that I conducted. A few articles, primarily by author Dr. Terry Besser, tackled the importance of small business community engagement in small communities. Additionally, COVID 19 took its toll on small businesses, and there are hundreds of articles that seek to understand the challenges that surviving small businesses faced. There were also several articles discussing teenage employment. However, most of them actually dealt with teenage unemployment due to like minimum wage or recessions. Only few explored actual teenage employment and why teenagers choose to work in industries that are actually considered bad or exploitive, like fast food industries. And Yasmin Besson actually investigated why teenagers work in these types of businesses, and she found that middle class teenagers, which is primarily the demographic in New Carlisle, choose jobs because they're fun and they allow for creativity and they have a lot of flexibility. And those are their primary reasons for working those establishments. So, again, much of what I learned in the interviews was actually validated through the secondary research. Aero Queen is actually significantly engaged in the community, both professionally and personally, so much so that it has become a staple in the community and in the culture. And they are known for sponsoring baseball and softball teams. This picture here is with this little girl won the game ball, but they don't give out game balls anymore. So instead, they give out coupons because Aero Queen has partnered with the New Carlisle Baseball Association. They partner with the New Carlisle Public Library Summer Reading Program, offering prizes for that. They sponsor parades. They sponsor the Heritage of Flight Festival that's held every year in New Carlisle, among other things. And this significant, sorry, my screen's not changing. I'm having some computer struggles here. This significant engagement, as documented in the interviews and the newspapers, has led to significant support from the community. Beyond community engagement, there are also other factors that have contributed to business success. One of them is that through different owners, they've changed things, but they haven't changed things other than like the menu, modernizing the menu, opening a social media account. But they've kept other aspects of the business the same, like the sign that continued to bring in customers from nostalgia. They also have an active social media account that provides free advertising for them. They post specials, new food items, and just general information, and that included during the COVID-19 pandemic. And when many restaurants in Ohio closed during the pandemic, Arrow Queen remained open in one of their busiest seasons in the restaurant's history. And while this contributed to a significant amount of stress on the owner's employees, they were thrilled that they were able to stay open and they were able to communicate different things through their social media site. Arrow Queen also has a steady flow of teenage employees. They employ around maybe 3% of New Carlisle's teenage population that work at the restaurant because it provides a fun, fast paced, flexible, and creative environment. And since Arrow Queen can hire as young as 14, it's the first job for many New Carlisle's young teenagers. And these are just some of the fascinating finds that I found about this small business. Jason and Donna, the current owners who've owned it the longest of any of the previous owners, continue the legacies that Arrow Queen began when Bud opened the shop in 1970 of low cost, high quality food and ice cream, a New Carlisle staple.